From the high desert southwest and an indiscreet shave den located in the deep recesses of Ouch's basement, broadcasting north from McMurdo Sound to Ice Station Zebra and east and west across all time zones to our members throughout the world, this is Badger and Blade Radio. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be in B&B land, and welcome to this episode of Badger and Blade Radio. On deck, our vendor spotlight interview, news and events around badgerandblade.com, including some forum items that you might be interested in, and our ever-popular mail call segment, where we will continue where we left off with the questions from last episode, including more for Stump the Host. Also, in future episodes, we will be introducing a brand new segment called Behind the Music, B&B style. This is where members that we know of have had a musical career, but now find themselves spending their time here on Badger and Blade. All this and much, much more. And after the break, our vendor spotlight interview with Stan from Above the Tie, Grooming and more. Stick with us.
Now there's a happy accident, an accident that could lead to opportunity. But then he had to take off his hat. And uh-oh, poor guy. Dry, lifeless hair can take the fun out of your life, but you can put it back with Brill Cream. With Brill Cream, a little dab'll do you. Watch Brill Cream put life in dry hair and fun back into your life. Brill Cream gives your hair that look the ladies love.
Excitingly clean, disturbingly healthy, so masculine. Watch.
Brill Cream, a little dabble do ya. Brill Cream, you look so debonair. Brill Cream, the gals will all pursue ya. They'll love to get their fingers in your hair.
Use Brill Cream and put life in your hair.
Welcome back to Badger and Blade, everybody, and we're very excited for our next vendor spotlight interview with Stan from Above the Tie Razors, and we're very happy to have him here. How are you this evening, Stan?
Well, Dave, I am great, actually. Couldn't be better.
Fantastic.
Excited about being on here.
Well, we're excited, very, very excited to have you. You've been with us as a vendor for quite a long time. And tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started in the business, and how Above the Tie came to be, and the idea of an adjustable fixed razor.
Okay. Well, it's actually kind of a convoluted story a little bit, but I don't think it's maybe that unusual. But to be really honest with you, the whole thing about how Above the Tie started was, it's really going to sound strange, but it actually dates back to about 1980, 79 through 80. A couple of friends and I actually had an antique shop, of all things, and we was doing our thing. It did pretty well, but it was, as you recall, in that time period, the economy was not doing very well, and by into 1980, we thought, okay, this is probably not going to work. And so the stuff we had left over, we just had an auction and got rid of all of our inventory, liquidated it and split it up and all that sort of thing. And what was happening is this was actually auctioned off all the material, and actually it was out in along a road, actually in a field, believe it or not. And I was probably 19 years old at that time. And so this auctioneer's doing this thing, and what stuck in my mind is all this stuff is being sold off, and occasionally you don't get as much as you paid for it, and other times you get a lot more than what you paid for it. But when it's all said and done, it made money.
Sure.
And of course, you got to remember I'm an old geezer, so when I was in school, there was no computers, no nothing like that. Chalkboards actually made out of chalk and all that. And
Sure.
what you wrote with was chalk, and it was a big slate. So it was. I was sitting there thinking, this is the way you could make money, because you attract a lot of people by doing this. Instead of trying to get people to walk in your door, you do something and that attracts a lot. But unfortunately, since I didn't have any money, I couldn't do anything else about it. But believe it or not, that exercise, that events, kind of filtered in the back of my brain. So fast forward a few years, and I'm at Walmart, and I'm buying some cartridge razors, because that's what everybody does.
Sure.
And I got the bag down, and I've told this story before, and and it's like $35 or $40 for this bag of refills. And I thought, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. This is just dumb. I felt like I got sucker stamped on my head. And so I went home and started searching on the internet. And believe it or not, one of the first places I found was Badger and Blade. Mm-hmm. So that was my first interaction with B&B. And I started reading about this, and I thought traditional shaving, okay. And I thought, well, I remember this. Anyway, my dad did this. Yep. And I started looking at it, and I started seeing photos, and some people had some super speeds on there, and I think, that's what my dad had. In fact, the first time I ever shaved, I used one of those. And I was surprised that people are still using them, and you still get the blades, and that was just a real surprise. And of course, everybody's talking about how inexpensive it is, and how inexpensive it can be.
Sure.
Let me say that. And it just depends on how you approach it and what your wants are. So anyway, I thought, well, I'm going to try this out. So I go to actually a couple of antique shops down here downtown Kingsport, and sure enough, come across a couple of things. In fact, I remember the first one I bought, believe it or not, simply because it's kind of a historical one. But it was the and of course now I'll go blank now as I was saying this, but no, it's a Gillette Ranger Tech.
Wow.
The story on that one. Rolled out for December in 1941, and
sure.
Of course Pearl Harbor. And every time I had one of those Ranger Techs in my hand, I'm thinking, was this bought for some guy for Christmas? And before he opened it up, before Christmas came, he's been shipped out. I mean, World War II starts.
Sure.
I always think about that. I think a lot of people do. But that particular razor, I think, has a real, to me, a real historical feel to it. And you can't but wonder what did the original owner, what was going through their mind while all this was going on, because
sure.
The world was turned upside down. But anyway, that's what I got. And actually, I can remember what I paid for it. I paid $5.40.
Wow.
So there we are. Yeah. So I take it home, and I got the blades, and I tried it, and I liked it. It did a good job. I was very surprised. I was encouraged because blades were cheap. And so I actually ended up buying a few more, so I ended up with about 5 razors of that type. Super speed type razors. And so I settled on one I liked the most, which was the Ranger Tech. And I thought, well, I'm going to sell the others away. And I'm retired now, but the time I worked in radiology, in fact, I did that for over 30 years.
Sure.
And so creating images is part of what I do. So when I decided to put this on eBay, and bear in mind this is the first time I had ever done this. Mm-hmm. Never, ever did anything on eBay before. So I thought, well, I'm going to sell these razors because I don't need them, I don't want them. And so I cleaned them up, and then I did some research, and I did the photos, and wrote the article. And it's just kind of, my professional career, it's just kind of how you do things.
Sure. And
so I put them out there, and lo and behold, I tripled my money on them.
And the light bulb went off.
And there you are. The bulb went off. I thought, that's interesting. So using Badger and Blades and other resources, I started, going to shops, cherry picking, buying things. Eventually, started going to eBay and buying things and basically flipping them, and and it just kept kind of growing. And I think kind of onto something here. I was joking with some people. They said, "Are you gonna get rich doing that?" And I said, "I mean, I get rich by buy groceries." So
yeah, exactly.
And that was the beginning of the idea of developing the business. And bear in mind, when I'm using eBay for the first time, that memory of 1979, 1980 comes back.
Sure.
So instead of being in a hayfield watching, a flatbed trailer and an auctioneer and, 100 people are looking at stuff, I'm now in front of a computer, and I'm putting items out to be, basically it's another type of auction, but still an auction, of course, and now it's global.
Sure.
People anywhere in the world can be looking at this.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized then, there's a platform to make happen what I was thinking about back then. And so, I kept selling more and more of these things. And my son-in-law, his name's Matt Cole, and he's been extremely helpful in all this. And of course, he's, a lot younger than me, so he's
Sure.
very much into computer. In fact, his livelihood, writing code and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So he just told me, well, you need a website. I thought, wow, that sounds serious. And so, to make a long story short, he dove in and created the website, and he's done amazing things with it. And that's how Above the Tie got started, is when that website was made.
Wow.
And of course, I had all these amazing names for the business. It was
Sure.
just amazing. And you can tell how amazing they were, because none of them ever cut them up. The actual name, Above the Tie, is actually Matt's idea.
Oh, I see.
It's one of these deals. I had this list of all these names, and then he said, well, how about this? He said out there, and I just kind of looked at him like, oh, yeah, well, yeah, that's it. That's the name.
Well, and I think what happens, and when you go through that, obviously being a business owner myself, you go through names and names and names, and a lot of them sound really good in your head, but then when you say them out loud to somebody and they give you that rabid dog look, saying, no, you don't want to do that. But the funny thing is, and we'll get to the fixed adjustable razor in a second, but I think the vast majority of our members and those people that are listening to the show tonight, know Above the Tie, or AT&T for short, as the stainless steel razor guy, because your AT&T razors and the different plates and the different bases and stuff like that is really what you're known for. But you also sell a vast variety of other products, don't you?
Oh, yes. And actually, I've been surprised that other people are surprised to find that out, because I thought that was about when people went to the website, they just knew that. But no, and that's been kind of a funny story too. But we sell a lot of products. We're kind of, and of course you kind of change as years go by. Some of the things you carry, but we've shaving soaps, shaving creams, blades, brushes. We've even had straight razors as well. We're not carrying those now, but we've done I had a lot of things out there, and I have a lot of things on the website now. So I hope people will come by and take a look at that. We're kind of shifting more toward artisan soaps, for example, and we've got some really good brands out there. One I really like, it's called Stubble Trouble. I'll just say it. I don't know if you
Sure.
breaks the rules too bad.
No.
I said it. But anyway, we was actually at the Big Shave West last year. And these people this young man had a booth beside of us, and we kind of had a little low moment, and we started looking at some of his soaps, and there was one of them in particular. You might as well just try it. I'm just saying it. There it is. Throwing that out there. It's called Up and Atom. And the guy's name's Adam. And what it is, you open it, and it smells like you should eat it. Actually, it's amazing. But it's Up and Atom. It's coffee. It's coffee mocha scented, and I think it's probably one of the best scents I have ever.
Wow.
And I like quite a bit of scent. Now, if you're one of these people that wants just a microscopic hint of scent, and you may not like it, but I like to open the lid and go, oh, wow, that's nice. I like that. But anyway, it doesn't matter if you buy it from me. I don't care who you buy it from, but you might want to give it a try. It's just a really nice soap. The scent is really nice, but it does dissipate, so it doesn't get in the way of your aftershave later and all that sort of jazz. Sure. But it's just a nice little soap. It's a family business. He's there in Texas, and it's just a neat little product. There's a lot of artisan soaps out there like that. Well, I can't say that and not mention Scott, that's on Badger and Blade.
Captain's Choice, sure.
Captain's Choice has wonderful products, and if you haven't tried that 45th Parallel, my goodness, that is some pretty serious stuff there too. That's if you haven't tried it, it's kind of a cherry almond sort of scent. It's really nice, very nice. Again, you'd think you should be able to lick it because it smells so good.
Well, and that's something we'll get to here in a little bit, talking about the market conditions, but, just in, a very short amount of time, I mean, your story is very similar to mine. I went to Costco one day and looked at a $50 bill for a bunch of razor, and I'm going, wait a minute, there's got to be some. So I went to Walmart and found Vanderhagen, and I said, wow, they're still actually doing this. And, and then started looking. But even back then, you had maybe one or two artisans. You had the big guys like True Fit and Hill and DRH and Penhaligans and all that. But lately, it's like the artisan soaps have just literally exploded, as well as some of the businesses, getting into the razor making and stuff like that. But what I think's interesting with your concept of it is literally a fixed adjustable razor. Can you expand on that a little bit with the AT&T razor?
Sure. And I believe we're the first to actually roll it out in that particular way. There may have been somebody else that had some pieces and parts and whatnot, but my view was to try to roll it out in such a way that all the parts were interchangeable, and from the very beginning you had choices to be made. Now, I didn't roll out the entire line immediately, of course, because I had to sell the first one just to make sure anybody wanted the crazy.
Sure.
A lot of people said, how do you know anybody was going to like it? And I said, I didn't. I just designed it the way, I drew it up on paper. It was in vacation in Hilton Head, South Carolina, if you're aware of it, nice place. And just kind of drew this thing up. And, I had sold hundreds, maybe even a few thousand of the vintage razors, mostly Gillettes. Like I said, I'd flipped those on eBay. Sure. And I used a lot of razors. And so I started thinking, well, why not just make our own? I mean, how hard could it be? So and that's just kind of the way I think. And so I just kind of cherry picked some ideas from all these different razors over the years and try to kind of synthesize them into one razor I think I would enjoy. And that's what happened. Drew it out on paper, and it took forever. I finally found somebody that would make it. And they thought I was crazy. And so I'm sitting there with his engineer guy, he's doing the CAD drawing thing. And I guess he thought I was going to come in there for, whatever, showing my age here, slide rule or
sure.
sort of stuff, and have all these papers. And I said, no, man, here we are. Here's what we got. And he's kind of like, I could tell the look in his face, like, you got to be kidding me. And I said, this is what we're going to do. And I said, and by the way, when you get on the screen there, you just do your thing. You put it on the screen.
Sure.
So we start working at it, and it starts forming on the screen. And I'd look at him and say, no, it's too wide here, too narrow there, too long there. Here, move it this way. Up. And we did this process, and I'm sure people thought this was the craziest thing they've ever seen. This guy probably thought I was ready for the loon bin or something. But when we got done on the screen, I said, that's it. And he said, you're sure? And I said, yeah, because that's what I know what I want it to look like, and that's it on the screen. Now, can you make that? And so, if you don't know, the prototype was generated and made, and it is the actually it's the Kronos H1.
Okay.
Was the original razor ever made for ATT. And I knew when I made it and started using it that I need to make there's not everybody's going to like one razor. You might have to have others. Mm-hmm. But this was the first one I wrote out, threw it on the market to see what was going to happen. And it was a real success. A lot of people really loved it. And so the idea of putting the plates on it, I'm kind of a history buff, so as I was going through this thing, I thought, well, I want this as much as possible. I want our line of razors to be good quality, flexible, and interchangeable. I thought about Henry Ford, interchangeable parts.
Sure.
And so for that reason, when it comes to the standard line of ATT razors, any handle, Atlas, Kronos, Bamboo, Colossus will fit any head that we have. And on the standard cap will fit any standard plate, whether it's an R, an EM, an open cone, closed cone. The slant, of course, has to be different because it has a twist to it. That as much as possible, all these parts are made to be interchangeable. Because I think, well, if a guy bought the original Kronos H1 and decides, well, for these light days, I think I'll get me an M plate, he can just buy the plate, not buy the entire razor again. And so from the very beginning, that was the idea. And so the fixed adjustable, someone actually had a customer that told me that a few years ago. He kept calling it the fixed adjustable, and I always thought that was a good phrase.
Sure.
Because it is adjustable. And that idea actually came actually from my dad, because when I was a kid, I used to watch him work on stuff, and I remember his socket set. Of course, I have one too now, but you have one wrench and different sockets you put into it for the various size nuts and bolts he was working with. And so that idea kind of also, bubbled up when I was trying to think through, the bigger picture of this whole thing.
Well, that's it's amazing when you think about it, because it does, as as most of us are, we become collectors. Excuse me. And by having this adjustable, this fixed adjustable razor, you get the benefits of all, because you've got different aggressiveness levels, you've got different smoothness levels, like you said, open comb versus closed comb. And I think looking back, I think you're right. I think that was probably one of the biggest innovations. And all you have to do is go on the forum and look. And when I first started into traditional shaving, I would hear some of these guys saying, well, I've got an H1 plate on a Kronos handle, and of course it was all Greek. I was like, what are they talking about? And then of course I started doing some research. But with all the stuff that you do with Above the Tie, were there main concerns with you when you started the online business, and how has the market changed in your mind compared to when you did start?
It's changed a lot. Yeah. Well, actually, starting the business, give it some thought, because I have a degree in healthcare and radiology. I have a radiology degree, science degree, but I also have a business degree. That's kind of weird combination, so I started, wanting to start a business, and I started. I remember one of my professors, which at the time I thought he maybe had some sort of disorder, because it was a finance class, and he always kept, his big phrase was, "Cash is king." And he'd say that every opportunity. He would say, remember, cash is king. And it took a while, because I'm not very smart, so it took a while for that kind of filter in. And what he was saying in totality, I boiled down to, you got to have, you got to be in a situation where you have liquid assets. You got to be in a situation where your overhead's not going to beat your brains out. You got to be able to be in a situation where the cost of doing your business is going to be beneficial and not detrimental.
Sure.
So therefore, don't spend money on everything you see. You don't need a platinum plated desk or all that sort of stuff. You got to preserve your cash or capital. You got to preserve your capital, because you need that to grow a business.
Sure.
And you don't want to run out here and make a big loan so you can buy paper clips. I mean, that's it's just and even though that phrase sounded kind of weird, I've come to appreciate that that's actually very true. And so the way I went about it was started at my garage, and just had a computer at the house, and I thought, okay, cash is king, so I'm not going to rent someplace and spend a fortune on stuff. People said, you need a storefront, and I said, no, I don't. That's the worst thing I'm possibly doing is a storefront. That'd be a kiss of death. No one shouldn't be doing that. And so that's how we got started, and I've paid cash for everything I've done. So with a different, I guess, model than what some people tend to look at, it's been a debt-free business.
Wow, that's fantastic. That you can do that. And and obviously, when you first came out with the AT&T razor and so forth, there wasn't a lot of stainless razors out there. And in the market today, you've got a number of different manufacturers. But I guess I would ask, how do you stay ahead of the curve? Because some of the folks that, and as you know, and this is no detriment because I actually have one, I remember when Weber first came out with his stainless razor. It was at a tremendous price point, and it still is a good razor. Well, then all of a sudden you get into some quality control issues. Not everybody had that issue. I didn't. I got lucky. I didn't have one of the wavy blades, and I won't get rid of mine. But how do you stay ahead of the curve with the technology pushing the envelope?
That's a great question. And by the way, one of the things I hope that I like to always say when I can, if someone's out there and they have an entrepreneurial spirit and they want to do something, whether it's making razors or brushes or soaps or mouse traps, I don't know what it is, don't be afraid to do it.
Right.
Just make sure that if it fails, you won't starve. That's always I told people. I said, the amount of money I put in Above the Tie, always, like I said, I've never gone into debt for it. And I told people I didn't want to be in a situation where if no one bought my razors, I wouldn't starve the next day.
Sure.
So that's kind of one thing 2 points I want to make about that. It's interesting because when we rolled out, the names you saw the most was Peels and Icon.
Mm-hmm.
And you would hear people talk about Weber, and then there's Tradier. Now,
Yep.
And actually, I had someone who let me borrow a Tradier razor. It's a very nice razor.
Yes.
Very nicely made. And I was trying to think there were some others, but they're the names that kind of just was in my mind at the time. And you're right. There are many. Well, Tradier, to my knowledge, is out of business. And I think, Weber's out of business. And, the change has come along. I assume Peels is still in business. And what has changed is now there's a lot more competition. There's Rockwell, for example. Got to meet him out at Big Shave West. And,
right. Timeless is another one.
Really nice guy. Timeless razor. You get to see a lot of buzz about Timeless. Wolfman. I've communicated with him via email. I have not had a chance to meet him yet.
Sure.
I think what you're seeing. Well, another thing I'd add to that is, Phil Hunsinger at Bull Goose.
Oh yeah, the new exactly. Especially the the new Darwin he just came out with, and the RX, right?
And the Maggards, Maggard's razor. Brad and Cassidy, got razors they've rolled out, and so that's one of the things I'm seeing that's different is they may not be like a dedicated razor maker, but you're seeing more people starting to branch out and do it.
Sure.
And I'd like to think that maybe Above the Tie has been helpful for that, for people to see, hey, here's this bumpkin from Tennessee. He did that, so I should be able to do something like this.
Sure.
Sure. And I always feel like it can be encouraging and be helpful to others. That's always a good thing to do. Good thing to be remembered for if you've been helpful as opposed to being difficult. Exactly. But I suspect that's because there's been a slow, kind of gradual increase in demand. If there's not demand for it, you can't stay in business.
Exactly.
If you're not buying it, it doesn't matter how nice it is. So I think some of the things that's driving is, like I said, demand. I think cost, and I know it's not to sound too serious here, but I think economy has impacted this over the last few years, because. You can go, like I said, you can go to pick you up at a thrift store or someplace. You can find a vintage Gillette for a few bucks. Mm-hmm. And just start getting you some blades and good cream. And you can actually, your shaving can be enjoyable, can be efficient, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money to do it. I know some people say that's kind of weird coming from my mouth because my razors are not overly cheap. Sure. You get the aluminum ones, which are new. It's $96 for those, and the stainless is $185. And if you get the sets, those go up in price. And and we had a limited run of 7-piece bronze sets.
Right, I remember that. Yeah,
a very premium piece. They're all gone, all sold out. So you have the gamut. So you have if you look at purely on economics, rather, it can be done. Inexpensively. Certainly cheaper than doing the Gillette thing and the cartridges and all that craziness. Sure. There's no question about it. You can easily save money by doing it that way. Mm-hmm. But also what comes into that thing, I'm probably kind of getting ahead of myself here, but also what comes into that is some people also like it for the performance that they get from it, the good quality of the shave. And also people like, you start moving in a different direction, people who want quality instruments, quality pieces, and that's where all this. I think one of the things that's good about it is there's a spot for a lot of these things. If someone wants something El Primo and they want to pay for it, well, more power to them. If you want to do like I did the first time I ever did something, I went to an antique shop and paid $5 for something. Mm-hmm. That's great. There you go. But then there's everything in between. So you can get modern, you get stainless, you get aluminum or whatever. You can stick with vintage. I think that's one of the things that people enjoy is because there's a variety. Mm-hmm. I do think there's an element of camaraderie. Because they kind of get into kind of broadness, and then they find places like Badger and Blade, and they find other people that talk about it. And it's really not a terribly expensive thing to get into. And if you start being a collector, it's really not, it's not terribly expensive to be a collector of vintage razors as compared to collecting, vintage cameras or vintage cars, or you know what I mean.
Sure.
You put it in that perspective, it's a little different.
Well, and I think also when you're talking about, the stainless steel, stainless steel is one of those things that'll be gone when we're all pushing up daisies. So you're creating that heirloom piece that fathers can pass on to their sons, and it's a quality, it's a hefty piece of machinery, and I think what you said, you can see it on the forum where a guy first gets into, traditional shaving, and he's boggled by the guys like us that have, a ton of straights, a ton of DE razors, more soaps than a closet will fill up, enough aftershaves and fragrances to basically open up a mall cart, and then they think it's really crazy. But then you see that same member 2 years, 3 years down the road, and they're building an addition onto their house because the wife has kicked them out because they've got so much stuff. And I think there's a pride level. I mean, I know the guys that own, like I own the RX, I own one of yours, and there's a pride level to say, hey, I own this piece of machinery. Because let's face it, at the end of the day, they all do the same thing. They remove whiskers from your face. But there is a difference when you're shaving with, whether it be a piece of history like an old straight or an old DE, like you said, because you hold it in your hands and you say, whose face is this shaved? What events has this razor seen?
Exactly.
And then on the new side, you say, hey, this is space age. This is the quality that I need. And that kind of leads us into our next question. Would you attribute most of that to the growth of artisan razors? And do you think that the resurgence in traditional shaving is a fad, or do you think it'll sustain itself?
Well, I don't think it's a fad because, I see continuing to grow. I think it's more of a trend. And I think there's a lot of things kind of in behind that. I think there is like I said before, there's the thing about, the quality of the shave you get yourself. I think there's something about holding something that's durable and is going to last for years. There's a lot of artisan trades that's becoming, we're making a comeback. People who do leather works and people who do smithing, blacksmithing stuff,
sure.
Making, forging things. And I think there's a bit of a resurgence kind of in the country about the way we used to make things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, for example, you look at a TV show called American Pickers.
Yeah.
And I think they kind of touch on that, oftentimes in that show, if you've seen it before, you'll get some equipment, you'll talk about how that was made to last. And, you look at some sort of machine here that, it's produced something for 80 years or 100 years, and now we don't produce much of anything. I hope that changes because I think we miss out on something there. I think we run into a situation where we don't appreciate, a good quality piece of something. We have become kind of a throwaway society, and then finally get to a certain point, and you think, well, maybe you get to a point in some circumstances where you're in a situation where you need to be throw things away. Maybe you need to reuse things, and then you realize what you have isn't really designed to be reused multiple times.
Sure.
So if I'm getting too serious here, I think that's a piece of it.
Sure.
I think there is a kind of well, I'll just have to explain it for myself. I'm not going to try to speak for everybody else. But when I was making these razors, one of the things crossed my mind is, where am I going to make them at? Of course, you read the textbook, everybody says, you contact somebody in Asia, and they'll make those things, and for whatever, real cheap. But I wasn't going to do that for a number of reasons. And one of them is when I was growing up, and people think this is hokey, and that's okay. They didn't think I want to. But everything always had "Made in USA" stamped on it.
Mm-hmm.
If it didn't say "Made in USA," most of the time it was, piece of junk. The only exception might be a Swiss watch. Outside of that, it's got to be "Made in USA." And then one day you wake up and you realize, man, we don't make anything hardly.
Right.
It's just, every time you look at something, it's somewhere else. And I just thought, I'm going to make it, and I'm just going to make it here. That's what I'm going to do. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't,
Sure.
okay, why not? I'll go back to what I'm doing. It ain't going to starve, like I said.
Sure.
And I was surprised at a lot of comments. A lot of people say, man, a lot of people say, I'm glad. In fact, I've had people say, I'm buying yours because I know it's made here.
Sure.
I'm buying it, for people who feel, strongly about that. And I mean, and I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way, but I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but it really meant a lot to me. It was very touching to me. It was a couple of Christmases ago when I went to the machine shop that does most of our work, and I was talking to one of the ladies. She's working on some of our stuff, and I told her how much I appreciate what they do and the quality that they do, and she looked at me kind of funny. She said, "Oh no, we appreciate you. If it wasn't for you making these, I may not have a job." And I'm not trying to, I'm trying to pat myself on the back, but it was a realization to me. It kind of like cold water in the face. This is what we need to be doing. We need to do more of this stuff here in our own country because more people depend on it. And the more stuff is made here, the more people would benefit, through jobs and all that.
Sure.
I guess that's my speech or whatever. But
no, actually, that leads right into what we were talking about earlier is, as far as like Badger and Blade. Now, granted, I may be a little biased, but I think Badger and Blade is really kind of a magical place. And I think what you're seeing is those of us that are baby boomers, you and I both included, is that we're looking back to what our fathers and what our grandfathers did. And so there's that renaissance of history, of wanting to even though it was a harder time for them, it was a simpler time. There wasn't the electronics. You could actually, take time to do things you wanted. And I think, and a lot of that, I hate to say it, but if you look at some of the European countries and everything else, if a child wants to get out of school and go into the trades, whether it be the building trades, whatever the case may be, educationally, they say, yeah, absolutely. Go into the trades. Unfortunately, I think in a lot of ways in this country, we've kind of forgotten that. It's the big push to go to college, but yet, not everybody, let's face it, the truth is not everybody is built for college. Not everybody wants. So why not put them into a trade situation? And, and I'm sure you've seen it, you go out to find an electrician, a plumber and stuff like that. It's not as easy as opening up the book anymore. There's not as many people going into those trades. That's why I'm excited when I see, folks like you with AT&T, some of the artists and soap makers, the artists and brush makers. It makes you have hope again that, hey, the ingenuity is coming back, because if you look in Europe, in England, Scotland, Ireland, France, Italy, some of the highest quality soaps come out of those places. Why? Because those guys are artisans, but they're in the trades and they're big companies. So I think you hit it right on the head.
Well, I think it's, and I agree with you. And it's really interesting. Like I said, kind of a history,
Sure.
But when you look back at the founding of the country, what did some of these people do? Well, people tend to forget. Well, Paul Revere was a silversmith.
Sure.
He was a tradesman. Even at one point, George Washington, he surveyed land when he was a young man. And these are those type of things kind of go into that more of a trade side of things, and people tend to forget that. That's I heard someone say one time, it's been very true. All honest work is honorable. My wife's family, all been gone to college, and I've been to college and all that sort of jazz. But I have a background where my dad didn't, and I remember my grandfather had a farm, so I'm not that far removed from those people who are very self-sufficient. My brother is an electrician. He's retired now, but he's an electrician. And you're very accurate in your comments. A trade is not second class.
Right.
I don't know. I feel like sometimes people think that, but it absolutely isn't. Because you just to make the above the tie razors. I mean, it was. I don't know. It was very, very, very difficult to find a machine shop that could make something like this.
Sure.
Most people make lug nuts and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, no, I need some finesse. I need some, and maybe they didn't want to fool with it, but I sincerely believe when they say, most of them, their comments would be, we just can't make something down with specs that small.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're just not we're just not equipped to do that sort of thing. And I was really amazed. I just couldn't get over that. I thought, a machine shop, you should be able to make anything.
Right,
What are you
right.
talking about?
Mm-hmm.
But it's, well, if you want us to cast some things, or we can do that, or we can pour steel. I don't need you to pour steel. I need to. So
Right.
it's just it was difficult to do that. You make a comment, it's hard to find a good electrician or a good plumber.
Mm-hmm.
It was difficult to find a machine shop to do this type of work. And maybe people are surprised to hear that, but it's true.
Well, and I understand it right off the bat, because being an insurance broker, I have a tendency to lead towards the small artisan commercial businesses, and I happen to have 2 machine shops that are that I have insured, and it amazes me because in fact, I think I took your razor in one day, and I was just talking about it, and he was my client was looking at it, and he goes, "Man, this is down to almost mil spec." And he goes, there's not too many shops anymore that are doing that type of technical work. And then a later client I talked to was actually getting out of the machining business because everything had become so automated and so computerized that he felt, because he was one of the old machinists that did everything on a lathe, did everything on this, and had to know the mathematical computations in his head. And he felt like he was being passed by. And so it didn't surprise me when you said that it was tough to find a machine shop. And I think probably most of the most of the business owners, such as Bull Goose and some of the other makers that are making these technically advanced razors, is they have to search hard and wide. So people don't realize when they see a price at $185, $200, at first they look at it and say, hey, it's a razor. But if you have the mindset of saying, yeah, but somebody had to design it, somebody had to create, get this big block of stainless steel and get it down to these exact measurements to where the top cap, the bottom cap, and everything fit together to where it was straight. You don't realize how many steps are involved in it until, you talk to somebody like yourself and say, there was probably a lot of late nights, a lot of early mornings, a lot of weekends that this was mulling over and over and over in your mind.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I'm not sure, I don't know that people realize that when you go to a machine shop and just something like this is being made, like someone, they're making stuff for me now, obviously, and they're, cranking them out over there, but, each one's made one at a time.
Sure.
And when that thing's, on the lay or it's being milled, you're charged by the minute.
Yeah.
And, the more, the stiffer the material, stainless is a pretty tough material, the longer it takes to cut through it, the more expensive it's going to be.
Sure.
And what is amazing is you look at some of these Gillette razors and the old vintage ones. You say, look at a Fat Boy or something,
mm-hmm.
and you think, well, why don't somebody just make more of those? Well, the cost of making that Fat Boy would make people just pass out.
Sure.
It'd probably a $800 or $1,000 razor.
Sure, absolutely.
If you made it exactly the same way, and people say, hey, you're out of your mind, Stan. There's no way it cost that. And I'm here to say, yes, it would.
Sure,
it would be staggering. And which kind of gets us back to, man, we lost that ability. We used to be able to do it.
Sure, sure.
Now all of a sudden we can't do it.
Right.
But at least I know.
Now, with that being said, what would you say would be one of the best ways to get the word out to people about traditional shaving in today's world? Because I know that when I go approach a friend and I tell them that I shave, because primarily now I shave with a straight razor, but I tell them I shave with a straight razor and I use the brush and the thing, and literally they look at you like you're a lunatic, because they go into their bathroom. In 5 minutes, they're out the door, where some of us, kind of use it as a spa day,
Right.
each and every shave. So what would you think would be the best way to get people more towards the traditional side of shaving, you think?
Well, on a one-to-one thing, I think you just touched on it there. You're telling people, you relate to someone that it's a shaving experience. It changes a chore into a luxury. It's something that you'll enjoy. And when I've talked to people, some of us just kind of jokingly say, I remember one time I had a big old McCurr, what was that crazy thing called? It was a big long barber pole handle. Was a big
Sure.
one. Whatever. Anyway, I plunked that on my desk, and I said, there's a shit like a man. Use that thing. and his eyes got big, and he picked it up, and looked at it, and he said, "My goodness, what is that?" And I said, "What do you mean, what is that? That's what men shave with." And of course, I was kind of, teasing him a little bit. I kind of knew him well, so I knew that particular angle would get his attention. And then that opened the door. He became interested. And by the way, he's a wet shaver now.
Right.
So good. And I think that's something that would go a long way. Is it's kind of like somebody driving an expensive car versus someone who works their way up and image you're buying, or maybe they're driving a BMW one of these days. Mm-hmm. They both get you to the mall. But the ride in one's more enjoyable than the other.
Exactly. Well, it's funny.
That's one of the things that happens.
And that's what I try to tell my wife. When she looks at my watch collection, she goes, well, they all tell the same time. I said, yes, but you look at time differently. Now, of course, that excuse didn't work worth a darn, but it was worth a shot. Now,
you always say, dear, how many purses do you really need?
Exactly. Well, see, unfortunately,
shoes do you really need?
Well, see, the problem is I fight a losing battle on that, because my lovely wife, who's been on the show before, she's an engineer and she's extremely frugal. So, unfortunately, I cannot fight any of those battles. However, what I did is I got her involved in traditional shaving. So, yeah, there was a method behind my madness. If I buy her a brush, I buy her a razor, she's going to start doing it. And then when I come home and I have this package and she goes, "What's in it?" I said, "Oh, honey, it's something we can both use." Now, that may not be the truth, actually, but now that she's going to hear this, you'll probably never. So for those of you in Badger and Blade, if you never hear from me again, you'll know why. But that leads me to my next thing. Being a vendor for as long as you have been with Badger and Blade, Stan, and we appreciate it more than you know. In your opinion, do you think that shave forums and the relationship with vendors is mutually beneficial?
Oh, that is an interesting question. Yes, the quick answer is yes. Obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be involved.
Sure.
Do I think that could be looked at maybe in a little different way? Yeah. Again, like I said earlier, when I first was exploring traditional shaving, what site did I come to first? It was this one, Badger and Blade. So I learned a lot from it, and I enjoy it. So I had a perspective of being someone who approaches it from a point of view of trying to educate myself and get to know people on the site and all that. And then and also, I learned about products, and learned about vendors and razors and stuff by reading it. And as time went on, once I became a vendor, and then I sometimes look at it a little differently.
Sure.
I sometimes feel like there's that the way a vendor wants to approach it doesn't always jive with the way the forum wants to function.
Sure.
And I don't mean this in a negative way at all. I'm very thankful for Badger and Blade. I'm glad they're there. They do a wonderful service. So I want to make sure everybody understands that. But from a vendor point of view, sometimes like there's all these restrictions about, people where you post here and don't post there, and only post there on Thursdays, and if it's a full moon, you can't post over here. So I'm not a very smart guy. I get these things confused. I've had to have some of the stewards come to my rescue and pull me out of the weeds, put me in the right spot. So I get all turned around with this stuff, and I guess there's a part of my brain that thinks that does it really need to be that complicated? Can't you just say what you need to say or answer the way you want to answer something? And again, I may be looking at it too simplistically, and I'm sure there's been people in the past I'm sure there's been issues, or else those rules wouldn't be there. We need rules.
Sure.
Rules are important. But if I went to Badger and Blade for the first time, and I was looking at some of the forums, I'm not sure how long it would take me before I'd scroll, several pages down, it seems like, before I finally find a section that says vendors.
Mm-hmm.
And so being a vendor, part of me says, well, why are we down there in the sub-basement? Why can't we be up here toward the top?
Sure.
And I know people say, oh, that's nitpicky, Stan, what's wrong with you? Take a vitamin and quit complaining. Go soak your teeth or something. What are you talking about?
Sure.
But if that makes any sense to you.
Sure. Well, and I think, and I think what it is too is I think, I don't think that the originators of Badger and Blade ever thought that we'd be sitting at, close to 80,000 members, the multitudes of vendors that we have. And I think that, it's one of those symbiotic relationships that, that goes. And I think that, and not to toot my own horn either, but I think what we're doing now with this show and spotlighting, vendors like yourself, I think that goes a long way in kind of, instead of having to scroll through pages now, a member who's relatively new or even an old member who's been buying from you forever can listen to your voice, listen to your philosophies. And, and we've got, obviously, I've talked before, we've got some other things planning, as far as, show advertisements and stuff like that for our vendors. And I think that, it's an evolution. Just like anything else, I think it evolves and it gets better and better as we go on. So, yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Well, I think this ties into your previous question about how to get more people learning about traditional shaving. Well, I think a wonderful way is as you're already starting to do it, with Badger. And I'm, by the way, the people that founded Badger and Blade, they're probably pretty amazed at what it turned into. I mean, it's absolutely a wonderful site. But you think, well, maybe there's other ways of by getting the word out there by doing the radio spots like you're talking about, or maybe there's a way of incorporating some of these things into YouTube or something, or maybe other types of social things, which I don't understand. I get confused when people talk about them. Sure. That's why my son-in-law takes care of these things,
Sure.
People talk about, Matt, is that a good idea? I'm just making razors,
Sure.
I'm excited about some of these new things I'm seeing, and the radio thing here, and I think with 80,000 members or so, I think that puts Badger and Blade in a great position to kind of lead the wave, if you will, lead the way of increasing awareness to people, and and I think there'd probably be I'm sure all the vendors would be excited about that as well, and would be helpful because it'd be beneficial to everybody. The members are going to be excited because they're going to see more conversation, more things being talked about, and it'd be a win for everybody. And I'm excited that it's already being done. I think it's being done, and I'm excited about what might be coming down the road too.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that the trans or the migration to the new XF software, that was one of the biggies. And there's more stuff planned down the road, and I think you can already start seeing those changes happening because, like for instance, on this show, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on podcast, and now it gives that relationship to where we point people to you via the show, you point people to us via the the internet or via the thing, and I think you get that working relationship going, and I think that it benefits the member, it benefits the general member, because now they can look out and they can say, wow, we've got lots of options. Because when I got into this, I literally thought I was crazy wanting to ask somebody if they had the old style razor that Dad used to use. Now, never in a billion years would I have imagined that all I had to do was go to because I stumbled on Badger and Blade looking for something. I can't remember what it was. And then all of a sudden I realized, wow, there's at that time it was a little less than 80,000, but at that, a couple years ago, but wow, there's 80,000 people worldwide that are just as crazy and kooky as I am about traditional shaving. And I think anything we can do to promote it is a positive thing. And for me, obviously being a business owner, using the resources that we have from our vendors is a good thing. And that's why we've been doing these interviews, is to get people to feel like you're part of the family, so to speak, and which you guys are. And getting people to really look at, and I promote this every time, is, if you're looking for shave gear, don't, stop by the vendor stores first. These are folks that are members. These are folks that have been here, many of them since the beginning, and patronize them. Patronize our vendors, because you know what? They will do nothing to not help you as a member. So I think it all works out together. And with that in mind, Stan, is there any final thoughts that you would like to say to the members of Badger and Blade, or just final comments in general?
Well, yeah. I guess one of the things I want to point out is that, obviously I've been very thankful for supporters, that from Badger and Blade, and there's a lot of people that have gotten to know, and you kind of PM each other back and forth, and talk and share some thoughts, and I think it's important for Badger members to realize that they've had a direct impact on some of the things that Above the Tie's been doing. It's no accident, for example, that we have an open comb slant. In fact, we're the only modern producer of open comb slants.
Right.
And that was because members of Badger Blade was asking for it.
Mm-hmm.
At the point of, there's none out there. There's probably a reason for it. There's none out there because nobody wants any. But I kept hearing people say, well, man, I'd love to have one. And so we made one. And it's been great. When we did the SE razor, a bamboo SE,
mm-hmm.
People was wanting to know, well, hey, can you make an open comb version? And I found out, there's no open comb SE razors either. Well, is that a bad indicator? And I thought, well, it wasn't last time. So again, because Badger and Blade members was asking for it, we made one. And it's been very successful. So I think it's important for people to realize that the forum itself is a type of empowerment really for its members. And people do listen. I know it's not unique to me. I mean, every vendors, they listen, because when people start telling you what they want, you need to listen. And so that's one of the things I want, especially, B&B members to realize that they are helping to shape the current market of modern razors. And I'm sure other products too. And so I just don't want them to, I don't want this to go by and them not realize that. And I also know how appreciative I am, because I've gotten a lot of support and a lot of encouragement and a lot of nice comments from people that they didn't have to go to the trouble to write that stuff out and send it to me, but they did, and I really appreciate it. There's days sometimes I read some of those things I thought, and I've actually responded to some of those people saying, "Man, you have made my day."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's those comments. Right now, one of the things we're working on, I'll just go ahead and throw it out there.
Sure.
We're going to roll out a prototype at Big Shade West here in a few weeks, is a gym type safety razor. So actually would accommodate a gym style blade.
Oh wow!
And that's been a bit of a challenge actually, because of how you're trying to go about doing things with that thing. The type of blade that it is and the size it is, and the old style is you have a stamped metal hinged device. And,
sure.
But when you're machining stuff, all of a sudden that becomes really expensive.
Oh yeah.
You're trying to go, so you got to be creative. You got to figure other ways around that so that you can make it that would make it more cost effective. And I think we've got a design kind of worked out here that will get us on the map anyway, get us started. So, but again, we're doing that because people keep asking for it.
Well, and
that's what we're doing.
Well, and you mentioned something that when you're talking about the members have been really a driving factor in what you do, and the hard part is that as a business owner, you never know what idea is going to be the one that's going to put you over the top, or the one idea that's going to sit on the shelf for a billion years. So to me, I think it's wonderful that you have faith in the members of Badger and Blade, and faith in that hey, if they make a suggestion for something, that yes, this is something that you'll do. That's huge. You do not find that very much anymore.
Well, I'll tell you something else that's even more amazing. The products and configurations of things or sets or whatever that we have done, that's been primarily driven by input from Badger and Blade members.
Mm-hmm.
We are still selling and producing those now. And actually, we have never rolled out anything that we've taken off the shelf.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And that's pretty amazing. And that's when you read Yeah, no, I thought about this when I was first started looking at Badger and Blade. You start reading these comments, and these are people who are very in tune to what they're working with.
Absolutely.
They're very, very knowledgeable. And it didn't take me long to realize, before I answer some of these questions, I better make sure I get my facts straight, because, honestly,
They'll call you on it.
they'll call you out. But by the same token, I think they are very reflective of the market. And that's I guess a resource that that we don't tend to think about it much from a vendor point of view. As a forum, actually, as a resource, because it's almost like you're still trying to do a bunch of research on market studies or whatever. You have a microcosm right in front of you on that forum.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now we can't do everything, but but if we get repeat comments about something or repeat requests, history has proven that's a pretty good indicator.
Sure, exactly. Well, Stan, it has absolutely been a pleasure getting to know you and getting to know a little bit about Above the Tie. And folks, don't forget to head on over to our vendor section and look for Above the Tie, Grooming and More. It's wonderful. We'll put a link here in the video library to Stan's website. And once again, Stan, we appreciate you taking the time out of your day to spend it here with Badger and Blade Radio, because I think it does give the members a better feel for who you are and the quality of products that you put out. So we certainly appreciate it.
Well, you're more than welcome. I'm very pleased, very honored to have had an opportunity to be on your broadcast, and looking forward to listening to others. And I'm just glad to be a member. Like I said, I was a member before I was a vendor. And one of these days when I'm not a vendor, I'll still be a member.
Fantastic. Well, you have a great evening, Stan. Thank you so much.
All right, Dave. Thanks a lot.
You bet.
I'll never forget my first cold slap. It was the day I was born. I was scared. Where was I? It was the doctor who brought me to my senses. I couldn't say thanks, I needed that then. But I needed that then, and I need it now. And I get it every morning from Skin Bracer. Its skin tightener and chin chillers wake me up like a cold slap on the face.
Welcome back to Badger and Blade Radio, broadcasting every 2 weeks right here at www.badgerandblade.com and worldwide via our YouTube page and podcast feeds. Before we get started in our news and events and forum item sections, we'd like to wish many of our own a very, very happy birthday. That's right, April 3rd is their birthday. Who am I speaking of? You may know them, you may have never seen them, but we'd like to wish all of the Ouches a very happy birthday, and we've prepared this very special birthday greeting for the Ouches.
Jab. Ba birthday, it's your birthday today. Ba birthday, it's your birthday today. Ba birthday, it's your birthday today. You're gonna have a great day 'cause it's your birthday today. Birthday.
Once again, on behalf of everyone here at Badger and Blade Radio, we'd like to wish Ouch a very happy birthday. And now for some news and events around BadgerandBlade.com. Once again, we'd like to thank you, the members, for your continued support of the XF software migration. Over in the Shave Soap Forum, the April theme shaves have gotten underway, and the 1st through the 6th will be glycerin soaps, the 7th through the 12th, tallow soaps, 13th through the 18th, veggie soaps, 19th through the 24th, French soaps, and to round out April, the 25th through the 30th, will be beverage-inspired soaps. You have plenty of time to get involved, so head on over to the Shave Soap Forum. The Check 6 for colorectal cancer awareness thread has had some changes. Please note that the prize drawings are now extended through April 7th, with the drawing being on the 10th, so you still have plenty of time to get in. The 2017 B&B Limited Edition pipe is now available for pre-order. Those orders will be taken through the month of April, so head on over to the Brown Leaf to see the wonderful pictures of this exquisite pipe that will be offered for B&B. In the DE Forum, the April shootout is the old type, thin cap versus thick cap. You have plenty of time to get involved. It'll be open through the month of April, so contact Imatabor for more details. Don't forget, the General Shave Discussion Veteran Piff will be coming up shortly, so please stay tuned in that forum for more information. In the darkroom, the March theme winner was Junior Vi. Jim, congratulations. And the April contest is Painting with Light. Pictures can be submitted now through the 19th, and voting will begin from the 20th through the 26th. It's getting close, so keep an eye out for it. Our annual Gold Dollar Modification Contest. That will be being held in our Straight Razor forum. More info on that as soon as it becomes available. Check out all the great forums here for a wide variety of subject threads, not just traditional shaving. New members, don't forget to go over to the Shave Clinic, Newbie Check-In, and Hall of Fame to introduce yourself. When we get back, we'll have our mail call segment and the continuation of the hilarity that took place on our last episode. We'll be right back.
High Karate's second fragrance. New Eastern spice. Just one whiff drives women wild. Its sultry oriental aroma makes men irresistible. That's why there's a special leaflet on self-defense in every pack. High Karate and High Karate Eastern Spice. Be careful how you use it.
Yes, it's that time for your favorite section of Badger and Blade Radio, the mail call section. We're going to be continuing the Stump the Host, Roast the Host questions that we didn't get to last week. So we'll start off right away with some questions from C. Vargo. Take me back to October 8th, 2016, when you were sitting on your couch watching your beloved Arizona Wildcats lose to Utah. Please remind how you made that feel. Well, Chad, didn't make me feel anyway because I wasn't watching the game. That's easy enough. Remember the time you took that bad photo in your photo journal? Well, yes, I do, and I got a bunch of crap for that. However, when you have such wonderful photographers as we do here on BadgerandBlade.com, you hold yourself to a higher standard. So for me, that just did not make the cut. And finally, from C. Vargo, what kind of beer will you be drinking during our interview that we posted last week? Well, I think I said this in the interview. I gave up beer for Lent, so I won't be having any beer until Easter. So thank you, Chad. We appreciate your submissions. And from Alex2363, he asks, who put the rum in the Rumma-Dumma Ding Dong? Well, actually, there is no Rumma-Dumma Ding Dong. There is a Rama-Lama Ding Dong, and that was coined and written by the Edsels in 1957. And that's not to be confused with Shamalama Ding Dong, that was written by Mark Davis and was performed in the 1978 film Animal House by the fictional band, or the fictitious band, I should say, Otis Day and the Knights. So thank you, Alex. We appreciate your submission. And from Brent at Exeter, he asked what my dream job would be. Well, if I had to do it all over again, I would be a professional air racer. Having been a pilot since I was very young and always been involved in aircraft in some way or the other, that would be the ultimate dream job, to go around an 8-mile course in Reno at over 500 miles an hour. So there you go. We appreciate that. And from Dr. Shavegood, we have a couple of questions. First, he is asking to list the main perils of a commercial package insurance policy. Well, this will be exciting, won't it? So you have property, inland marine, liability, and crime. Well, those aren't the perils, those are the coverages. But basically, wind, hail, lightning, fire, vandalism, and malicious mischief. So now that you folks wake up from that question, we'll move on. And also, when am I moving to Texas? Well, we are looking at retirement in Texas at some point. So, Aaron, if you get a knock on your door, it might be us. And to also give a menudo recipe. Now, this will play into some later questions that I have from some of our wonderful members here on BadgerandBlade.com. Menudo. Menudo is a tripe-style soup. It comes in two different flavors, a red menudo and a white menudo, or menudo blanco, as they say. I prefer the menudo blanco. So you go down to your local carniceria or Mexican grocery store, pick up the tripe there, and you will boil it for about 4 to 5 hours. And the stock of this can be normally a beef stock, so you get your beef roast and just boil it away, or I like to use chicken and beef. Throw a couple of cloves of garlic and some salt, pepper, lime salt, and a little bit of chili powder in there, and let that boil for a couple hours, and then you have your stock. Then you'll throw your hominy, which has been soaking for about 5 or 6 hours to get plump, in that. Throw a little bit more garlic, Throw your tripe in, and for a good 6 hours after you've cut the tripe into little 1-inch squares, you're ready to go. Serve that all together with some onions, some cilantro, and some lime, and some fresh tortillas, and you're all set to go. Now that's the menudo I like. As far as the band, as you will see, I don't know who they are, I don't like them, and we'll set that straight in just a few minutes. And finally, from Major Rich, we should say, how has your life changed since I left Menudo? Well, first of all, I don't like Menudo the band. I have never been in the Menudo band, nor have I listened to their songs. There, the end of story. Also from Major Rich, who is the better actor, Stellan, Alexander, Bill, or Gustav Skarsgård? I really don't know the differences between them, but my favorite actor of the Skarsgård is probably the one who plays Floki on the Vikings. So there you go. Also, he asked, will the Arizona Wildcats make it to the Final Four? Well, we're already past that point, and they didn't. They sucked, and we'll move on from that. Also, to name my favorite football player, the Arizona Cardinals. Well, I'll stop real quick right there. I believe that's from Dangerous Dawn. I don't follow the Arizona Cardinals. I'm a Pittsburgh Steeler fan. So, unfortunately, the Arizona Cardinals are nothing more than a transplant of the St. Louis Cardinals. And considering we don't have that many Cardinals in the state, it's kind of dumb. As we move on, another one from C. Fargo. What is hotter, Phoenix or hell in August? Well, I live in Tucson, so I will tell you that Phoenix is usually about 5 or 7 degrees warmer than Tucson. And in June or late May, we usually have our first 100 degree temp. And then after that, usually the entire month of June can range between 105 and 120 degrees, depending on the year. So I would say probably Phoenix or Tucson is hotter than hell during August. And from Dangerous Dawn, pick one. Annette Funicello from Beach Blanket Bingo or Sandra Dees in the movie Gidget. Annette Funicello. I used to watch the Mickey Mouse Club, and I was in love with Annette Funicello, and so there's your answer on that. And one last one from Dr. Shavegood. Have I ever been to Puerto Rico? And if so, did I eat mofongo? I think I may have answered that in the last one, but yes, yes, and yes. And that's it for the Stump the Hosts. So, back to the whole Menudo thing. I don't know how this got started, but there was some folks in our journal cadre, which you can peruse at your leisure, that decided that I, apparently being half Puerto Rican, was part of the Menudo band. Let me set the record straight. It never happened. I was never part of the Menudo band. I don't listen to the Menudo band. And the closest thing I got to that was the fact that I eat the soup Menudo. Let's see if there's any other questions from everybody that we did not take care of, but I think that's about it. So thank you one and all for your questions for the mail call section. Hopefully in the next couple episodes we will get back on more of a related topic to badgerandblade.com, but we thought this was kind of fun and it gave some of the members a chance to see how badly they could stump me, and most of them did very, very well. So once again, thanks, and we're going to wrap up the mail call segment right now, and we'll be right back after this. This brings another episode of Badger and Blade Radio to a close. We'd certainly like to thank you for listening and hope you enjoyed yourselves spending some time with us today. And, we've got some breaking news. As you know, Badger and Blade members, we have been running the New Look Piff for quite some time, and we now have a winner. Congratulations to It's Taz, being the big winner for all the caboodle than the prizes that were available. We do suggest, Taz, that you probably spend the next week or two sitting at home, as you will be getting bunches and bunches of packages to your door. So congratulations once again on the Badger and Blade New Look Piff. Just a reminder, don't forget to check out the B&B Marketplace and the Buy Sell Trade for wonderful shave items, and some of these items are being offered by members you already know. As you know, we have vendors here at badgerandblade.com. They've been supporting Badger and Blade for quite some time, so please try to give them your patronage. Check out their vendor thread section here on B&B. As always, we'd like to thank the mods and the admins and the owners for everything they do for us here at badgerandblade.com, and we'd like to thank the stewards for all the hard work they do each and every day. But mostly, we'd like to thank you, the member. You are the lifeblood of badgerandblade.com, and your membership is appreciated each and every day. Thanks also for supporting Badger and Blade Radio. We are coming up on our 1-year anniversary, and please don't forget to check out our YouTube page. Please subscribe and like, and then also like us on Facebook. Now, we have a special announcement for our April 17th show, a new segment called Badger and Blade behind the music. As you all know, all of us here at Badger and Blade come from different socioeconomic backgrounds and careers. However, there's deeper stories, and we have a story of 5 men who went through the trials and tribulations of trying to enter a musical career. We will have interviews with the former manager, the roadies, and even their former commanding officer from the military, so please stay tuned for that. I'm Skyside on behalf of Badger and Blade Radio. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.